everyone, CW Music Reviews here. I'm CW and this is going to be a music review of the new Baauer album, capitalized A, lowercase a. Baauer is a producer and this is his full-length commercial debut. I first caught on to this guy when he dropped this single back in 2013 called the Harlem Shake. The internet went nuts. Everyone went nuts over these really haphazard and seizure-like beats, and it started a lot of memes. So now he has a new album out, and I decided, well, maybe he can capture that kind of energy he had with that single and replicate that in a series of singles on this particular album. Maybe he could pull through and do something interesting for EDM and electronic music in general. But unfortunately, I can't say that's the case. This was really disappointing. This song's about 13 tracks in length, and it's about like a little over 30 minutes. Average track ranges about 2 to 3 minutes, and the longest track clocks in about 3 minutes and 31 seconds. I feel like I was getting an appetizer, but instead of like hot wings or chips and salsa, I got something I don't like. The opening track, Church, it doesn't really set the mood for what's going to be going on for a good portion of this album. It's got like this spacey sort of intro that glides into some really arrhythmic and kind of aggressive drumming before it just stops, and then these like celestial and kind of gospel and Gregorian synths come in along with these vocals. I'm not sure where the track is going, but it's certainly a decent opener. And then we get GoGo. I started getting intrigued with what could possibly come out of this album. The percussion's kind of MIDI and cerebral. It's got a nice looping melody, some like really driving EDM. The drop seems a tad arrhythmic at first, but once you like get into the rhythm of it, it makes more sense. It's a formulaic track, but a decent one at best. Then after that, the album just the track Body, the intro spacey, like the synths are really cerebral, but the build is just so underwhelming. There's almost nothing about this percussion that sticks out to me, and this is the longest track on the album at 3 minutes and 31 seconds. It feels miraculously too long. There's also these vocals on this track that are just, for the most part, so indiscernible. All these effects on them, reverb and probably some distortion. It seems so redundant. We get the track Pinku, and it's a bit shorter, and maybe the length justifies the idea, but again, there's nothing. This just feels like filler. There's like these cerebral beats going on that come up on tracks before it, but that's really it. The hook is just so bland and formulaic. This is just a really undercooked track. Then you got the song So. I like the beat quite a bit, even though it's pretty skeletal, but there's like these vocal snippets, and it just sounds so annoying more than it does intriguing. But then I feel like that the album was about to pick up when the track Day One's come up. Really aggressive, really intense banger. Especially these vocalist, novelist, and Like Kelly 47 really come in and do their thing. They're adding character to what probably would have just been a solo track of some kind of theirs. And that's the thing. Baauer tailors these beats better for their guests than he tailors these beats for himself, and that's really disappointing. Especially when it goes into the next track, Good and Bad. It's just 1 minute and 9 seconds long and adds almost nothing to the album whatsoever. It's just an interlude track that really shouldn't have been there. It could have easily been axed out. The track Away From Me is another soft moment that probably should not have really been in the track listing, especially with these vocals from Tirza that don't really add much to the album. She actually sounds really inconspicuous over this spacey and really soft R&B, EDM hybrid instrumental that really shouldn't have been there. But then we get to my favorite track in the album, Temple. You get this kind of temple meditative intro that seems soft, and we get like this Tibetan instrumental that has like a driving beat pattern. M.I.A. and G-Dragon are going in on this beat. If this is what Tibetan monks or Indian monks listen to just to turn up, then this is definitely what they would be rocking out to. We get the track Make It Bang, which once again has underwhelming guest vocalist that Baauer tailors specifically for her, and the beat is actually much better than the guest vocalist. It just doesn't really work to its benefit all that much. I especially like the hook on this track, where the guest vocalist TT the artist is kind of looped pretty well and in syncopation with the beat pattern that's going on. And then we get the track Kung Fu, which again, I like the guest vocalist a bit more than the beat itself. The beat itself is pretty glossy. I certainly enjoy it quite a bit. Pusha T has a really good verse. I especially like when Pusha T has this line where he says that drug pushing is a sport. Welcome to the world of snort. I thought that was funny. On the other hand, you got Future. I don't particularly like Future on this track. I especially don't get why he's trying to clear his throat like he's gonna sing any better than he does. I don't like how he's like describing some kind of ballerina on her tippy toes and how he's gonna have sex with her. But I will say that Future is somewhat tolerable on this track. And unfortunately, Kung Fu is like the last moment where the album has anything substantial to offer. Church Reprise, the next track, is just another interlude track. I don't see why it existed. I don't get why we have this reprise. And I don't get why Rusty, who pretty much Baauer's influence on this entire album, is on here playing guitar. This was just a piece of filler. And the closing track, the title track from this album, it's just a lazy, half-assed EDM outro. There's like these vocal samples that sounded more annoying than they did idiosyncratic or off-kilter. And it's just really this anticlimactic track and leaves me wondering if Baauer had any sort of plan for this album. I didn't like this album. The tracks that I did like or thought were okay weren't so compelling that I was eager to just return to them. If anything, the guest vocalists that are on here make me more excited for where they're gonna go next, like Pusha T and M.I.A. and Novelist, than I am where Baauer is gonna go next. I feel like that Baauer had a chance to make an impression that is going to be lasting in the world of electronic music, and he wasn't just going to be this guy that for a brief moment of time had his several weeks, perhaps months of fame because of the Harlem Shake, but unfortunately that's what it's looking like. There's no identity on this album. Like, there's nothing here that is so great that makes me say, oh, yeah, this is a Baauer track. This is a Baauer album. Tracks like Temple could have just been on M.I.A.'s new album, which I hope drops at some point in the future. And it would have fit more snugly there than it would on this album. The worst part is, it's like 34 minutes, if that. It's like a little over 30 minutes long, and it just feels like it drags for its length, and by the time I'm finished with Temple, I just wish this album was already over. I hope Baauer can like really come back from this and learn from this, because it sounds like he's kind of just finding his own identity, and I know that's really difficult for artists that are just starting out, but as of right now, I can't say that I'm optimistic about where Baauer is going to go next. This album is a negative 1.4 out of +3. If you're interested in what Baauer is doing since Harlem Shake, then I guess try it out once. You might like it more than me. But if you've given this album a listen, what did you think of it? Did you like this album? Did you dislike this album? What was your reasoning for that, and what should I consider listening to and reviewing next? This is CDD Music Reviews here, signing off.